Today we're talking about the need to tell stories with data. Hey everybody, welcome to StudioSec. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if it's helpful, comment down below with anything that you've learned, and subscribe for more content. Also, if you want to join the StudioSec Discord, check out my website. There's a link down in the description. I look forward to chatting with you there. In cybersecurity, you will be tasked with explaining and presenting data to people. This is going to be true regardless of whether or not you are on the red team or blue team side of the house. In blue team, you might be presenting data on URL blocks, on different kinds of things you're filtering, maybe on malware signatures you're catching, and on a red team, you're going to be presenting information on your penetration test. Now let's dive a little bit more into the red team side, and then we're going to tackle the blue team. On the red team side, it's going to be easier, obviously, to be able to tell a story because you're kind of chronologically going from reconnaissance to initial exploitation, privilege escalation, and then any kind of, data exfiltration and bouncing off to another box. So that's an advantage you have over the blue team, among others, with your data reporting. Now, one of the other things that needs to be talked about, and is super important, is how you report and present this information. Obviously, whenever you're presenting this information, you're going to be coming up with all kinds of things to improve on, right? But it's super important to make sure that you're presenting it in a way that whoever you're presenting to isn't going to check out of the meeting. So when doing this, don't focus only on the bad or on the things to improve on. Present to them some strengths that they demonstrated. Here's why you want to do this, is if you're in a meeting with somebody, you're presenting your report on a penetration test, and you're only presenting to your client, here are a bunch of ways on how I was able to gain access and do this, that, and the other thing. Here are a billion ways to improve, and you never provide any positives, then they might come out frustrated and ejected, and then a little bit concerned with, wanting to hire you back. And it's not necessarily them not wanting to hire you. It's them having the impression that a penetration test was just an effective or was just an expensive way of being told that they're not good. Obviously, they're going to have some strengths. And if you encounter an organization that literally has zero strengths, send them to my channel. We'll get them fixed up with some of the cybersecurity fundamentals, and then we'll send them right back. But there are a couple of different ways I think that you can present data in a more positive and upbeat way. One would be presenting with 3 sustains and 3 improvements. Obviously, you can add the number here, but you want to try to balance out the number of positives with the number of negatives. So obviously, sustains are things you need to sustain. Here are some strengths that I noticed. I was not able to do X, Y, and Z. And so you should continue to work on these things, or you should continue to do these things because they make an impact. And then obviously the improves are going to be, here's what I was able to do, and here are the ways that you can improve, so that way next time I can't do it. Now, obviously you don't want to provide too many points. You want to create just enough actionable items that it's realistic within, like, say, a year's time for them to actually act on those things. And so next year they can hire you back and you can try again. Now, another way is the sandwich method, where you give, here's a sustain, here's an improvement, and here's another sustain. And so that way you're starting and you're ending with positives, and in between those is a strong improvement. Now, I really think that these are going to be some really good ways that you'll be able to maintain their attention. You'll keep a positive atmosphere in your presentation, and everybody's going to walk away knowing what their action items are, knowing what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then that way they're excited next time for you to come back, perform another penetration test, and everybody will be better for it. Now, let's talk about the blue team side. And this is where presentation of data is super important, because there's going to be no shortage of the data you have to present. Now, obviously, the more data you have to present, the better. There's never too little data you can actually have, but you're going to want to make sure that you're presenting them in a way that makes sense, more specifically in a way that tells a story. Now, to do that, you're going to want to base a number off of any one of these following things. Like, you're going to want to base it off of time, the number of, so let's say you block 500 URLs, right, in a particular day, and that's the data point you want to present. Now, if you're basing this off of time, then you can show a clear trend upwards, downwards, or sideways, and that can tell you one of several things, is that maybe your coverage is improving or not improving, or maybe you're getting trends on user behavior. You can base it off of mission. So if your goal is to improve the coverage for URL filtering, then seeing a larger number than before might indicate more coverage. You can also orient off of a specific event. For instance, if you see a lot of URL blocks shortly after SolarWinds, and you go in and do some research and you see that some of those URL blocks are related to SolarWinds, well, that tells you some information that you might need to know. However, none of these items can be pulled from that if you only go in and say, we blocked 500 URL. That data's point is awesome, great, you have that stat, but it means nothing unless you're able to tie it in to any kind of context or relevance for the audience. Now let's hammer down on that. Without context, a number is just a number. It's not gonna excite anybody. It's just something that, you know, a leader, a business leader is gonna look at, probably get a little confused, and then they'll probably go off and create their own action items, whether or not those action items are really relevant to the security strategy or the needs. However, if you provide context to a number, then a business leader can clearly see what purpose that number serves, what action items they can pull from that, and then they can create action items from that that do meet business needs. And that comes into the main point here today, is you want to create actionable intelligence. You cannot really create actionable intelligence just with raw statistics. You have to do something to link statistics together, to relate them to events, to tie them into an overall story, so that way you can walk away kind of with context on where you're at today, an idea on where you want to be tomorrow, and then you can create action items to get you to where you want to be. Now, mind you, you probably already know this, especially if you're already working, but if you go into a meeting, you want to come out with some kind of value, right? Nobody likes meetings that could just be an email. And so you want to present data that serves a purpose, that adds value, that shows context, and that everybody is able to walk away with some action items that they can work on, and they can understand what purpose their work actually serves. Now, do understand, especially if you're just starting with this, that this is a skill and it's going to improve over time. As Sean Cannell always says, if you improve 1% every day, then over 100 days, you will have improved 100%. Well, it's just like this with reporting. If you improve your reporting by 1%, then over 100 days or over 100 reports, you will have improved by 100%. So start practicing presenting actionable intelligence, start presenting contextual data today. So with that, like this video if it's helpful, comment down below with your thoughts, and subscribe for more content. Glad to see you guys. See you next time.